How's it going, everybody? Welcome to my channel. Today, I'd like to take a closer look at Joe Biden's August 2021 exit from Afghanistan, an update on the situation now, almost 2 years later, and a shocking video from 2007 that pretty much answers the question whether or not this was botched on purpose. On Friday, August 20th, 2021, Joe Biden made this promise to the American citizens still held up in Afghanistan as our military evacuated.
We're going to do everything that we can to provide safe evacuation for our Afghan allies, partners, and Afghans who might be targeted because of their association with the United States. But let me be clear. Any American who wants to come home, we will get you home.
Well, it's almost 2 years later, and that promise is still yet to be kept. As far as the latest estimates go, 175 Americans are still stuck in Afghanistan, with some of them being held captive by the Taliban. This updated number comes from Secretary of State Blinken, who ironically, 2 years ago when the last troops finally left Afghanistan, tried to report the number as even less than that.
We believe there are still a small number of Americans, under 200 and likely closer to 100, who remain in Afghanistan and want to leave.
So either their initial estimates were incredibly inaccurate, 90% inaccurate to be precise, or he was purposely lying to the American people to hide the true scope of this horror show. Nevertheless, since the evacuation, roughly 800 Americans have been evacuated from Afghanistan, with again still another 175 still stranded there. And that's not the only horrors of this evacuation, because 4 days before that, on August 26, 2021, a suicide bombing near Hamid Karzai International Airport in Kabul killed 169 Afghan civilians and 13 United States servicemen, with over 150 more people injured. And as if all those stranded American citizens and the 13 dead soldiers weren't bad enough, in their exit, the U.S. military also left behind an estimated $7 billion in military equipment, including nearly 10,000 air-to-ground munitions, over 40,000 military vehicles, including 12,000 military Humvees, more than 300,000 total weapons, including M4s, M16s, machine guns, grenade launchers, and mortars, 1.5 million specialty munitions, a massive amount of communications equipment, nearly 42,000 pieces of specialized night vision surveillance equipment, and over 17,000 pieces of explosive detection equipment. That is a massive arsenal of the most advanced weaponry there is the Biden administration just handed the Taliban. The Taliban, who had just completed retaking over Afghanistan 2 weeks earlier as they first entered Jalalabad unopposed on August 15th, and on August 16th took complete control when the military unit created by the CIA, the KPF, surrendered to them. That's 20 years, 2,400 lives, $2.3 trillion, and nearly nothing to show for it. In fact, the Taliban's actually better off than before you went in there. But all those lives of money and nearly nothing to show for it. Not even the one thing they claimed to be there for. Osama bin Laden, which Obama announced to have been killed by SEAL Team 6 just 4 days. Not 4 months, not 4 weeks, 4 days after releasing his highly suspect birth certificate, completely wiping out any and all coverage / analysis on it, where they, curiously enough, decided not to release a single picture of him, except this one, of course, which turned out to be fake, and then 2 weeks later claimed to have ordered all alleged photographic proof held by any special forces of assassination to either be destroyed or turned into the CIA. And then, instead of bringing the most wanted terrorist in known history who just spent $1 zillion trying to locate home, they alternatively opted to throw his body into the northern Arabian Sea on the very day they allegedly took him out. Nothing to see here, guys. Sorry. Oh, but wait. There's that one famous picture of Obama administration watching bin Laden be killed. Well, wouldn't you know it, it just so happens that that was also a misrepresentation.
Probes, and why do you believe that, and why don't you believe that?
You watched bin Laden die.
No, the video ended when the SEALs got into the complex, into the buildings.
Because of a technical reason or because you didn't want it?
I think both. Remember, I agreed with the president as well not to release pictures.
Oh, but guys, the feed cut out right as he was about to be killed. Damn it. Just like in Jeffrey Epstein's jail cell. Oh, man. Better luck next time. So did they take out bin Laden? I don't know. Maybe. But they sure got nothing to show for it. And as far as their war on terrorism, namely the Taliban, goes, not only did they not take them out, they wound up rearming them to the tune of $7 billion in equipment, all rearmed and ready for the next forever war. Here's them celebrating with a parade immediately after, showcasing our weapons and vehicles. This is arguably one of the worst endings of any war in U.S. history. But could it have been avoided? And if so, does that mean it was willfully unavoided? Biden's top military advised him against fully withdrawing right away, suggesting he leave about 2,500 troops there for the time being.
In the fall of 2020, my analysis was that an accelerated withdrawal without meeting specific and necessary conditions risks losing the substantial gains made in Afghanistan, damaging U.S. worldwide credibility, and could precipitate a general collapse of the ANSF and the Afghan government, resulting in a complete Taliban takeover or general civil war. Based on my advice and the advice of the commanders, then Secretary of Defense Esper submitted a memorandum on 9 November recommending to maintain U.S. forces at a level between about 2,500 and 4,500 in Afghanistan until conditions were met for further reduction.
I recommended that we maintain 2,500 troops in Afghanistan. And I also recommended earlier in the fall of 2020 that we maintain 4,500 at that time. Those are my personal views. I also have a view that the withdrawal of those forces would lead inevitably to the collapse of the Afghan military forces and eventually the Afghan government.
That was from the September 28, 2021 Senate Armed Services Committee hearing on Afghanistan withdrawal. And their statements mean that this clip from Biden following the Taliban's retakeover in Afghanistan just 12 days before the final plane left was a lie.
But your top military advisors warned against withdrawing on this timeline. They wanted you to keep about 2,500 troops.
No, they didn't. It was split. That wasn't true. That wasn't true.
They didn't tell you that they wanted troops to stay?
No, not in terms of whether we were going to get out in a time frame, all troops. They didn't argue against that.
So no one told, your military advisors did not tell you, no, we should just keep 2,500 troops. It's been a stable situation for the last several years. We can do that. We can continue to do that.
No, no one said that to me that I can recall.
I recommended that we maintain 2,500 troops in Afghanistan.
So that was a lie, as he tried to throw his generals under the bus. This next statement was another lie in this interview, or I guess you could say a promise that's still pending 2 years later.
You've got like 10 to 15,000 Americans in the country right now, right? And are you committed to making sure that the troops stay until every American who wants to be out is out?
Yes.
How about our Afghan allies? Does the commitment hold for them as well?
The commitment holds to get everyone out that, in fact, we can get out and everyone should come out.
So Americans should understand that troops might have to be there beyond August 31st.
No, Americans should understand that we're going to try to get it done before August 31st.
But if we don't, the troops will stay.
If we don't, we'll determine at the time who's left.
And
if there are if there's American citizens left, we're going to stay till we get them all out.
He also states in this interview that he doesn't know how they could have left without chaos.
But you don't think this could have been handled, this actually could have been handled better in any way? No mistakes?
No, I don't think it could have been handled in a way that we're going to go back in hindsight and look, but the idea that somehow there's a way to have gotten out without chaos ensuing, I don't know how that happens.
And keep in mind that the bombing, the dead service members, and the thousands stranded citizens all occurred in the final days of withdrawal after this interview. So the chaos he's referring to hadn't even reached its peak yet. But nevertheless, that was also a lie. Joe Biden knew exactly what would happen if he rushed the exit of Afghanistan. In fact, he so much knew exactly what would happen. Here's him laying it out nearly word for word 14 years earlier on the campaign trail.
So the question is, in order for us to have the credibility to be listened to again, we got to deal with this war. We got to deal with this war. This war must end. We must end this war, and we must end it in a way where we tell the American people the truth. We got to tell the truth. There's a lot at stake in how we end this war. It makes a big difference how we end this war. And it makes a big difference to tell the American people the truth about what our options are in ending this war. If tomorrow the order goes out from I'm President of the United States, I issue an order, end the war today, begin to withdraw all American troops. It will take a year to get the American troops out. Do you hear me now? That's the truth. It will take a year to get them physically out. Now, if you leave all the equipment behind, you might be able to do it in 7 months. And you leave those billions of dollars of weapons behind, I promise they're going to be used against your grandchild and mine someday.
I mean, that's exactly what he did. So he can't blame ignorance. We just saw before that he can't blame his generals. According to him, in his own words, if you want to evacuate the troops, it would take a year at least, unless you left the equipment behind, then maybe 7 months. From the day Joe Biden took office, January 20th, 2021, to the final exit, August 30th, 2021, was, you guessed it, 7 months.
Now, if you leave all the equipment behind, you might be able to do it in 7 months. And you leave those billions of dollars of weapons behind, I promise they're going to be used against your grandchild and mine someday. So it matters. And so again, the truth.
I mean, it doesn't get any more straightforward than that. He knew exactly what would happen. Went against the advice of his generals to do it anyway, and exactly what he said would happen, did. Seems pretty cut and dry to me. And if you're asking yourself, why would someone want to rearm the Taliban? First ask this: who audits where foreign aid actually goes? Now, don't forget, no one sent more money overseas to Afghanistan than Obama. He sent more than triple Bush. So again, to anyone who asks, why would someone want to rearm the Taliban? First, you got to ask, who audits the billions paid for war? Who controls the distribution of funds? Who accounts for the funds? Why did another war, suddenly also requiring tens of billions of US dollars, pop up less than half a year after Afghanistan finally ended? That's some coincidence. And so is this.
I am confident when I say both political parties are united in our resolve to pursue and conclude successfully this war and to support the President's efforts. The world should know that we support our President and our military forces in their mission. We want to eliminate bin Laden and his top aides and remove Mullah Omar and the Taliban leadership. After al-Qaeda and the Taliban fall, to use the phrase of the day, when we drain the swamp, as the President says, the medium-term goal is to roll up all al-Qaeda cells around the world. Saddam is dangerous. The world would be a better place without him. He possesses chemical and biological weapons. He is seeking nuclear weapons. This resolution, though still imperfect, deserves our support. Mr. President, we authorize you in the name of the American people to take action, compliment the President on his patience, on his resolve, and his understanding for the need for certitude. Mr. President, I will vote for the Lieberman-Warner amendment to authorize the use of military force against Iraq. And I do not believe this is a rush to war. I believe it's a march to peace and security. I'm reluctant to use the word nation building because it is such a loaded political term these days. But if we leave Afghanistan in chaos, it will be another time bomb waiting to explode.